So it's mid-March and you've done all your planting, and all you keep doing is looking and waiting underneath those grow lights. And your plants look like this, which is wonderful, but you can't transplant them yet. So what do? I have a project for you. We'd really like to have all of our winter indoor projects done by March or April. That way, whenever those plants are ready to be transplanted into the garden, we're really ready for it. So we have tilled the garden, we're transplanting on time, and really spending a lot of our spring and summer months out in the garden and getting the most out of our time. So during the winter months, we have been stocking up on canning supplies, which if you haven't already, they are out and it's a really great time to pick them up because a lot of people really aren't thinking about it, but during canning season, of course they are. So they're out. If you want to go ahead and stock up on them, now's a great time. Another thing that we've been focusing on is putting meat away onto our shelves. So I've been canning a lot of meat in the kitchen, and it really dawned on me that there's a wonderful project that I would love to share with you. So I normally take an old raggedy towel and put it up on the counter or on our table. And whenever we're taking the hot jars out, I'm putting them on the towel. Well, I'd really like for that to look a little bit nicer. Today, we are going to take some fabric and upcycle an old towel and make that look really nice. So we're going to go ahead and make a canning mat today. So this is going to be a step-by-step tutorial on how you can do that and maybe even make a gift for somebody. During canning season, this would be a wonderful thing for you to gift to somebody. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around and show you how we're going to go ahead and do that today.
First off, we're going to go ahead and take our top layer of our canning mat and measure it 18 by 24 inches long. This is a perfect dimension if you're going to be putting it on a countertop, that way you're staying within the depth of a countertop. We also have a Presto canner, and I want to make sure that we have room if we double stack our pints for all 14 pints with spacing in between for cooling. Now you see I just cut the top and the bottom layer, and now I'm working on the inside. So this is an old towel that we're going to go ahead and upcycle today. I'm cutting off the decorative pieces on either side. I do have it folded in half. I'm going to go ahead and measure it the 18 by 24 inches long so that we can go ahead and fit it in between the two layers. And this will be the inside of our mat. Now we're going to go ahead and take our two layers, since it was folded in half. I have two layers of the 18 by 24 of the towel. And then I also have this insulated material. This is perfect if you're going to be making any kind of oven mitt or pot holder. This is a great material to make sure that it's nice and insulated, and of course keeping those rings from making stains on our table. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take our fabric and we're going to separate it all out. We are going to take our bottom piece and we're going to make sure that we flip it upside down. We're going to go ahead and start our sandwich, if you will. We're going to go ahead and make sure that that's face down. We're going to put the first layer of our old towel down and make sure that it is all spread out and kind of evened out with all of the edges. Next, we're taking the insulated material and we're putting it right on top of there. Then we're going to go ahead and put the other piece of our towel. And lastly, of course, we're going to go ahead and put the top to it. So again, just to reiterate, we want to make sure that backing is face down. So we have that backing, we have the towel, we have the insulation, we have the other piece of towel, and then of course we have our face, our top layer. Now we're going to go ahead and separate the two pieces. We want to make two pieces for this project. I'm going to go ahead and take the top layer, the towel, and then the insulation. I have these clips here. Of course you can go ahead and use pins, but I do have clips and it makes it super convenient, especially for me. I am always around our little ones, and our little ones are trying to learn how to sew. So these are super convenient for me, but also just a little bit more safe than having pins hang out. So we're going to go ahead and pin this all the way around and sew around the perimeter. As you can see, I have a little helper here today with me. If you have little ones that are learning how to sew, this is a perfect project for you to teach them, because it's a simple, small project, not something that they need a whole lot of time to sit at the sewing machine, but it helps them learn the basic of sewing. Okay, my little helper did such a good job. She sewed around the entire perimeter, and as you can see, there's 3 layers that are all attached together. So now we are going to work on our other piece that we will then go ahead and match up with this, but we're going to go ahead and put this off to the side for now and pull out the other pieces. Here we have the bottom layer and the other piece of the towel, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that those are clipped together, and then she'll go ahead and sew around. And as you can see, this is such a wonderful project for little hands to gain all those muscles. She's teaching her little brother how to use the clip there, and just a wonderful day of sewing together as a family. So far we have 2 pieces that are complete. We have the bottom layer and we have the top layer, of course. So the bottom layer has 2 pieces. Again, the top layer has 3. And so we're going to go ahead and make sure that we put it together here now. At this point, we have all of our clips, and we're going to go ahead and put a seam around the entire perimeter. Now, I am not a master quilter, so I am definitely not going to pretend. I am just going to simply put some lines straight down. I have marked each of these clips are 3 inches apart. So I'm just going to put a seam right down all the way to the bottom. All of the seams are done, so I have quilted in between, and all of the layers are together. And I have also put another stitch around the perimeter just to make sure that the ends are done as well. So now what we want to do is trim up any of the ends that don't meet together. So we have a couple spots where it didn't meet exactly, so we want to make sure that it's nice and trued up, and then we'll go ahead and do the binding. Okay, now that our edges are nice and clean and straight, we're going to go ahead and start on our binding. This is the binding material that we're going to be using, and I'm going to be cutting it 3 inches in width. Now, if you've ever done a binding project before, you know that the entire perimeter needs to be done in one continuous piece of material. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And this is a fat quarter that I am using, this blue material, so it is only 21 inches long. I'm going to need to cut 4 strips of my 3 inches in order to make that continuous piece of material. Okay, and now you see I am cutting that, and I'm going to go ahead and sew each of the pieces together to make that continuous piece. Okay, so I have one long continuous strip. They're all seamed together. Now what I want to do is take my iron, and I'm going to press open these so that they're flat. I want to make sure that these seams are nice and flat. We already are working with a very thick mat here, and so we don't want to put too much through our sewing machine. One thing I did not mention is while I have the iron hot for these seams right here, we're also going to fold the binding right in half. So right now you have 3 inches. We're going to go ahead and fold it in half. That way it is 2 layers, and we can have a nice end here for our mat. Now that our binding is a continuous strip and we have it folded over and nice and ironed, we're going to go ahead and put it on. So about a quarter of the way down, you want to go ahead and start your binding. We want to make sure that we leave about, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches so that we can meet this together when it comes back around. And I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to go ahead and start the seam. We're going to do a 1/4 inch seam all the way down to our binding, all the way around the entire mat. And then I'll meet you back here and I'll show you how we're going to join this together. I do want to mention to you before you go all the way around, if you've never done a binding before, you want to make sure that you stop about a 1/4 inch from the corner here. And then I will show you how we want to go ahead and fold it up so that we can make that nice angle. So what you're going to do is flip it up so you have a little triangle there, and then you're going to flip it back down the other side. You're going to have this little flap right here, and make sure it's nice and lined up perfectly. And then you're going to go ahead and sew along that other edge. You want to make sure that you leave that 1/4 inch just like you did the last with the last stitch, but go ahead and leave that little 1/4 inch and then sew along the side. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I met these together, and I'm going to go ahead and seam these together. Now that we have our binding attached to one side, we're going to go ahead and flip it over and attach it to the other side. Now we have an option here. We can go ahead and hand stitch this, which a lot of people do to finish it off, and it looks really nice. Or you can use your sewing machine. Now keep in mind that this project is a very thick project to be putting down in your sewing machine. So when I first started, I actually thought that I was just going to hand stitch it, but I was in a time crunch and I wanted to go ahead and run it down our sewing machine to see how it went. Mine did okay, but I do want to let you know that, like I said, it is a very thick project, so you want to be really careful not to break any components in your sewing machine or your needles. So like I said, I went ahead and used my sewing machine. As you can see, I am doing the corners right now and just showing you how you can fold it in and stitch along the side. But go ahead and stitch around the entire perimeter, and that is going to complete our project. Okay guys, here is our finished project. As you can see, it is nice and quilted on the inside, and our binding is done. I am super excited to use this project whenever we can next, to test it out, and I'm really excited not to use an old dirty towel now. Something looks a little bit nicer in our kitchen. So I think this is going to be a wonderful project for you guys to work on to finish off your winter projects and gear up for those gardening days.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. I had a great time making that with you, and I know it'll be a wonderful addition to your kitchen. We have some canning tutorials coming up, so go ahead and hit the subscribe and notification bell, and that'll let you know whenever we upload the video. As for now, guys, have a blessed day.